Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending from which part of the world you have joined in today. My name is Priya Patra, and I am the Vice President Outreach of the PMI Mumbai chapter. And we are back again. And this is Season 4, PMI Chapter Exchange, Event 4, the 31st event of this entire initiative. And today we have something exciting that we're going to talk about. How brands can help you to win. How do you build your brand as a project manager? Well, before we start that, I would also like to introduce our spotlight chapters, PMI Netherlands and PMI Germany chapter. We have our team also on this call, co-hosting and managing the show behind the scene. And to introduce them, we have Arshad, our chapter leader from Germany chapter.
Hi, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Arshad, and I'm working as a volunteer with Germany chapter in international relations since 2021. I'm delighted to be part of this event and at the same time honored to be sharing the stage among chapter leaders and subject matter experts. I welcome you all to this event on behalf of PMI Chapter Exchange.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Arshad. And we have Anita from PMI Poland chapter.
Morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's Aneta from Poland, from Wrocław to be precise. I'm very happy to participate in the event again and to welcome you. Have a nice morning, afternoon, and evening.
Thank you, Anita. And Innocentia, our chapter leader from PMI South Africa chapter.
Hey everyone, happy to be here, and it's great that you've joined us for this very exciting session today.
Thank you, Innocentia. Priscilla from PMI Sao Paulo, Brazil chapter.
Guys, welcome. I'm Priscilla. Good morning from Brazil. I'm a member of the Governance Council of PMI Sao Paulo and a member of this incredible PMI Chapter Exchange team.
Thank you, Priscilla. Hiral from PMI Gujarat, India chapter. Hiral, are you speaking on mute?
I'm sorry. Hello, and greetings to everybody. I represent Gujarat chapter as the chapter leader for volunteer development portfolio, part of Women Engagement Committee, South Asia Initiative, VDP Volunteer Development Program, and Chapter Exchange Program, again, PMI Global Initiative. And I'm glad to welcome you all to this, such an interesting, I love this panel discussion, what happens here. So welcome all of you to this wonderful session, which we are looking forward to.
Thank you, Hiral. And Shane from PMI Phoenix chapter.
Good morning, I'm Shane Gurtachi. I am the past president of the PMI Phoenix chapter, and I'm excited for this event this morning. Look forward to it. Thank you all.
And last but not the least, Damike, our chapter leader from Sri Lanka chapter.
Hi everyone, I am Dhammika Mendes from PMI Sri Lanka chapter. I am volunteering as the Executive Vice President at Sri Lanka chapter and joining as a volunteer to the PMI Chapter Exchange program.
Thank you, Damike, and over to you, Priscilla, to welcome everyone.
Welcome everyone to the PMI Chapter Exchange Season 4. This is Event 4. Today, we are going to discuss brand to win. Build your brand as a project manager. And here with us, we have our PMI friends joining in from 24 different PMI chapters from around the world. North America, Latin America, Europe, Africa, and Asia, plus many other supporting chapters from the world. Please. And let me introduce you to the exchange effect. We love this map. This is how it looks like today. We have registrations from 64 countries. It is very, very exciting, isn't it? And please say hello to each other and keep networking as we begin. Today, we are pleased to announce that we have over 1,200 plus registrations from all over the world. 64 countries, as I mentioned before, from Alaska to New Zealand and all countries and continents in between. So thank you all for this warm response to this initiative and for joining us today. And please let us know where you are coming from using the Ment link shared in the chat. Finally, we remind you that this meeting is being recorded. Therefore, if you feel uncomfortable in any way, you can choose not to attend. If not, you are welcome to continue. We also highlight that everyone here at this event is speaking in our individual capacity. Therefore, our opinions do not represent the opinions of our organizations in any way. Thank you.
And to welcome the guest speaker of the day, I hand it over to Anita.
Thank you, Priya. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for our guest speaker of the day, Americo Pinto. I assume that Americo needs no introductions. Americo is founder and chair of PMO Global Alliance, the largest worldwide community of PMO professionals. Americo is also PMI Distinguished Contribution Awardee, researcher, international speaker, and author, and a project manager, a leader who has created a niche, a very strong brand for himself. So, Americo, if we asked you, how did you build your brand? What would you say to us?
So, hello everyone. It's a great pleasure to be with you today. Actually, there is something important about me, that is I'm a member of PMI for 23 years and also a very active volunteer. I'm one of the co-founders of the second chapter, the second Brazilian chapter in Rio de Janeiro, where I live. So I still today, I'm working with many chapters and the PMI, the central structure. I have many friends and I feel all the time that I'm part of this family, and especially that I started when I was very young. I was almost a baby, right, in the 90s. And I say all the time that PMI changed my life. You know, if I'm here today with you, it's because I joined PMI in the 90s. One night made all the difference, right? And now we are here together. So I'm someone that really encourage people to volunteer and to get involved, because we can learn and get a lot of benefits from that. So let's talk about reputation, right? This is something quite tricky, but it's absolutely important for any project manager, actually for any professional nowadays, right? And as you probably heard sometime in your life, reputation is something that you can build, that take years to build, and you can just lose everything, you know, in a couple of hours, especially today with the power of internet. You know, everyone is connected. So today, leading PMO Global Alliance, for example, we have members in more than 125 countries. And I say that if we do something wrong, you know, in our field, wrong in terms of, you know, bad things like unethical things, it means that I need to move to another planet, because there will be no place where I can work again. So that's how reputation can be important for us in our environment, right? Sometimes in our region, in our country, in our company, in many different ways. But the point is, reputation, it's all about trust. That's the big thing, right? It's all about trust. And trust, it's not something technical. Trust is related with relationships, with people. So actually, most of I could say that project managers by default, right? We are technical people, right? So we love that. We give a lot of attention to the technical stuff, and in the last years, of course, everyone reinforced the importance of soft skills, and we are trying to do our best on this. But still, we are technical people. But building your reputation as a project manager, building your reputation as a professional, actually it will depend much more on how you conduct your relationships, right? The technical stuff, of course, it's important, but sometimes, and possibly, you know, people like that they are technically amazing, you know, wonderful people, technically speaking, but it doesn't mean that they have a good image, a good reputation, a good brand, right? Professional brand, because they don't care too much about relationships. And that's what moved the world, and also our world of project management. So if we are in a company working as a project manager, building trust with our stakeholders, with the executive level, with our clients, with our team, that's what really matter, right? And the big point is, okay, but how can I build trust? That's the big challenge, right? So I'm sure that many of you feel that you built trust on your all brand in the last years. Many of you are experienced and are here with me today. But I would like to talk about very quickly about my all experience, right? So it's not only as project manager, but as someone with a dream, I could say, right? And this dream can be about your career, can be about your business, can be about your dreams, right? So I'm Brazilian, you know that. And actually, in Brazil, we speak Portuguese. I hope that all of you know that, not Spanish, right? And Brazil is a big country, 200 million people, and it means that we have some difficulties, of course, but in some way our market is really big. Sorry, but even if you work in an international company like I worked in the past, Deloitte, Accenture, actually most of the time you keep your business, you work with people in Brazil, right? Not even with the the Hispanic Latin countries, not so much, depending on the company, but usually our market is so big compared with all other countries that we are, you know, we are comfortable in our region, right? And it means that it causes to us some limitations in terms of what we can do, you know, beyond these limits, right? So in many different ways. First of all, there are many difficulties. We are a rich country in many ways, but it doesn't mean that we have all this wealthness well distributed by the population. So this is something difficult for many people. So education is still a challenge. For example, especially in my generation, I was born in the 70s. Also in the 80s, I could say, speaking English is not something that is really, you know, common for anyone, even if you work in an international company, because again, you don't use English because your market is Brazil. So you speak Portuguese all the time. You are not pushed, you know? So we have some difficulties in terms of economy and etc. And there is something cultural. Maybe some of you can understand what I'm saying. There is something cultural, possibly, I don't know, possibly it came from our colonization time, you know, in the past, but usually in our culture, we give a lot of value for things that come from other places, other countries. You know, sometimes we have great things here to do, but we believe that what comes from other countries, from abroad, is maybe better than what we are doing. It's something cultural. But I'm telling you all of this just to give you a background about how we can develop brand in Brazil, especially if you want to go international, right? We have many reasons that make things a little difficult, as I said, but the big point is, the first point is about what you want, your dream, right? What you want to be. And to be honest, there is something that I really believe that before thinking about being different, I really believe that you should think about what, which kind of people or which kind of companies that you would like to be similar. You know, so when I found my first company, I remember that we started from the scratch, and the name of the company was Compass International. After 10 years, we had like 400 employees, but at that time, it was just me and two partners. And they asked me, but America, why international, right? We are in Brazil. And I said, because we are open for jobs outside Brazil. And they said, but we don't have anyone. I said, okay, but we'll have some of them in the future, right? So this is the spirit. And we would like to be perceived as the big companies like Xchange, you know, but we were so small. But this big dream, you know, this vision was something that made all the difference for me and for my company at that time in terms of growing, right? Because we believed that we could do that. And to be very honest, because of that, I started to believe that we could really think big, right, in our career, in our endeavors, etc. So this way, it was like 15, 20 years ago, I started to build this potential international brand, right? And it was not really easy because actually at that time I didn't speak English. Today, not so well, but at that time I couldn't understand almost anything, you know. It was so crazy. I remember some people that know me know that I like to speak. I speak a lot, if you let me. But I attended the PMI Leadership Masterclass in 2009, right? And my colleagues, right, most of them thought that I was very shy, but it was not the reason. It's because I couldn't understand them and I couldn't speak anything, but I said, okay, I'm gonna go, right? And that's how I started to build some reputation. In Portuguese, in Brazil, people know me. I have been doing a good job, so writing, you know, articles, books. But the point is, how could I, you know, overcome the obstacle to go international? And the point is, I started to take a risk, right? So what I started to do, it was 2010, was submitting articles for every conference in project management that I could find around the world, right? So the article was well written. People didn't know that I couldn't speak very well, right? But I submitted the articles and okay, it was accepted. So now I'm going to go there. And that's how I started to present in conferences around the world. In the beginning, I'm sure that it was not really good, right? But after a few years, of course, it's about practicing, right? And today I speak many conferences. I can make jokes in English, right? This is my way to measure if I can do a great job when I'm speaking in a foreign language. But it was about taking risk, because when try that, sometimes we just believe that it's impossible, but sometimes we just try. We need a little craziness, and when we try that, new opportunities will arise, right? Of course, you have to be cautious because sometimes you can push too much and it will not be good for your reputation. But if you are transparent, if you are very, how can I say, very open to learn from these experiences, I believe that it helps to build this reputation very, very fast. So that's how I started this international career, you know. And in 2017, I decided to sell my company. We had like 500 employees at that time. I sold my company to found PMOJ. PMO Global Alliance was a dream, right? Something that could focus on the PMO audience. That is an audience that is very important, but compared with project managers, it's a little smaller, right? So this way, PMI and the other organizations, they cannot give proper attention because they have 2 million project managers to take care, you know, and of course, PMO people, they are composed by a smaller audience. And this way, I decided to found from the scratch PMO Global Alliance. And in 6 years, it's crazy, but actually it happened much better than I could imagine. We spread it everywhere and created a brand, not only a brand for PMOGA, but a brand for me, right? So that's exactly when it happened. And how did it happen? And that's how I would like to close my speech, right, for you. In fact, again, take risk. Secondly, using all the tools that we had available, for example, LinkedIn, right? What else? Creative ideas, right? There is something that in Brazil we know very well. When there is a lack of resources, creativity comes up, you know, and we had good ideas like the PMO Global Awards, and many of you possibly know it. It's the largest award for PMOs, but it's different because it looks like a football World Cup, but among PMOs. Yes, I'm Brazilian. It makes sense, right? But it's exciting, and all of these things. We've never spent a lot of money, right? Of course, time and dedication, but with passion, we can do that, right? And there is something that is really, I really believe on that. First of all, it's obvious. Ethical aspects are the base of everything, right? So this is something that I'm really crazy for that because again, just a wrong perception about what you are doing can be misinterpreted and everything is destroyed in a few hours, right? This is absolutely true. And the second point is transparency. With many people that I've been talking with Pierre, I had a meeting with Pierre 2 weeks ago. We are talking about potential partnerships, and I said, okay, what can I say? You know, because actually we have a great reputation. There are some people that they believe that PMO Global Alliance is so big, right? Okay, I could say, yes, we are big, but we are not. Actually, we are very small, but we have impactful projects, you know, some of them really big. We will have our first World Conference in Paris in December, for example. It's a big conference, so very exciting. And I said, okay, so I will be transparent. I'm part of the family, right? And that's what I did. I told him my dreams, my vision, what we want for the future. And some people told me before the meeting, Pierre, it was my first time with him, and they said, Pierre is a very direct person. You know, actually, his expectation will be listen from you, what do you want? So probably your meeting will take like 20 minutes. And I said, okay, it's okay. And you know, I like to speak, right? So our meeting took 1.5 hours, you know, and he was very interested. And I said, wow, it's amazing, right? I couldn't expect. So the transparency, I believe that helped me to quickly build trust. So if we are a if we are project managers and we are dealing with stakeholders, dealing with executive level, being transparent, build trust, understand expectations, understand motivations of other people. And finally, especially if we are talking with the C-level, and if we work as a project manager or a PMO leader, this is something very important. Sometimes we have expectations about these people, right? Of course, they are good, very good in the business. Otherwise, they will not be at that position. But it doesn't mean that they are really mature in our subject, in our matter, right? And sometimes we expect this from them. And it's very frustrating because if they are not mature, they can't see the value of what we are proposing. So build trust takes time, not only because you have to translate all this, this movement in actions, but also because you have to respect the time of these people on absorbing what you are trying to do. Things are not like this, right? So you have different people in your team, your bosses, it can be in your company, in your country, internationally, but understand them before starting your actions. It's something very important because the value of what you are doing will be perceived in different ways depending on who you are speaking with. So that's what happened with me today. I'm here with you. I'm so proud, right? If it were 12 years ago, I should be very shy today because I couldn't speak possibly anything, right? But in the last 10 days now, 90% of the time I speak English in my work. So it's something unbelievable for me, to be very honest. And I feel that everything is a privilege, have a chance to meet with all of you, have a chance to count on your trust. It's invaluable, it's invaluable. So it's, for me, it's the most important thing more than anything else, money, right? This is the real value that I would like to teach to my children, right? And that's it. That's what I can tell you about my ideas and my experience with building trust.
That's
There are much more,
amazing,
of
Americo.
course.
That's
That's the
amazing.
idea.
And thank you very much for sharing your personal experience. A few things that we gathered is take risk, be open to new ideas, and be ethical. And of course, I think you're a true testimony of the pen is mightier than the sword, right? You started with writing and then you built your reputation. So thank you, Americo, very much for sharing your personal experience. And a big round of applause for America. Already I see many applauses. Okay.
Thank you
So
very
thank you
much.
very much for your time. And please stay along for the panel discussion as well. Before that, we will move on to the next section of our event. And we'll be very fast with this. And this is our partner chapters who are part of this initiative today. 24 chapters, and we like to call this as one team, one song, and one dance. And we stole this from our ex-CEO, which is Sunil Prasada. We give this credit to him every time we show this slide. We also did publish a book on how we built this entire platform and how did we engage so many volunteers from across so many cultures together. And some of the folks you see on the call are co-authors of this book as well. And you will see it is again diverse, culturally diverse team which has come together to write this book. And it is called The Xchange Effect. And you will see the link on the chat window. If Anita and Damiki has forgot to put it, please do that now. And please do read our book, and I think it will be valuable. Yeah. Oh, yes. And we have a special section today, and this is, we like to call it as Chapter Exchange Liaison Spotlight. You must have noticed that a few days ago, PMI declared the Chapter Leadership Impact Award. And out of the 12 awardees, 2 of them are from our team. Isn't it exciting? Yeah. And I would like to congratulate Shane, who is our chapter leader from PMI Phoenix chapter. And Shane, if you would want to say a few words, you have half a minute to say. Okay, don't be
Okay. No
Yeah.
problem. Thank you, Priya. And yeah, it was great to get this award. I was honored, but it's really a culmination of all of the volunteers that I work with at my chapter and the volunteers here at the Exchange as well. But thank you. Appreciate it, Priya.
Okay, thank you, Shane. That was less than half a minute. Thank you very much. And we have Ayanda More. And Ayanda More is a very, very special person of this initiative. She gave us that logo you see on the top of the screen. She designed that logo for us, which finally evolved to a different style, but she did create that logo for us. Ayanda is our chapter leader from PMI South Africa chapter. And if you want to say a few words.
Okay, thank you, Priya. Well, I wouldn't have received the award without obviously you including me in the chapter exchange, especially PMI South Africa. They exposed me to a lot of other chapters in the world, and which I was part of their projects, some of the projects that they were initiating. Yeah, so I owe it to them. As I said, that this award is not just for me, it's for the whole of Africa to shine. And yeah, we're doing great things. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Africa is definitely shining. I see them shining everywhere. So thank you, Ayanda, for your contributions to the program, and Shane as well. Thank you very much for being such an active partner in this initiative. And the latest star here is Priscilla. She is going to, go and evangelize our initiative in the Latin America region. I did also ask Americo to help us to evangelize this initiative in this region. So Priscilla, over to you.
Thank you, Priya. First, thank you, Americo, for your inspiring insights. And thanks, PMI Sao Paulo, and the Exchange team for all the support. I am very happy, and it's a great honor to speak about the PMI Chapter Exchange at the LIN in Mexico. And I invite our fellow chapter leaders from Latin America to join the session so we can exchange ideas and discuss how this amazing exchange effect can expand in our region. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Priscilla. And with this, we move on to the next section. And over to you, Damike.
Thanks, Priya. So let me introduce Andres, the president of the PMI Germany chapter, one of the spotlight chapters today. So Andres is a change execution manager. His expertise lies in execution of regulatory projects and high-value payment data warehouse implementation expertise. So before I hand over the stage to you, Andres, I have 3 questions for you. First one, what is the time there now at your side and the date? What does the logo of your chapter signify? And tell us a bit about the NED in land in chapter. I hope I pronounced correctly. Over to you.
Thanks, Damika, and hello, everybody. Time check, it's 4:33. It's Friday, the 19th of May. It's what we call in Germany a bridge day, because yesterday we had a public holiday. And from that perspective, many people in Germany are on vacation today. But I'm not, because I'm, as always, I'm serving the PMI. So what the logo shows is obviously the chart of Germany. What Germany is about, let me just give you a few examples about the country, the chapter itself, and then some of the things we are currently doing. So Germany is located at the center to northwest of Europe. It has a very long history. And what I mean is the first notable event of the history of Germany was when more than 2,000 years ago, the so-called Cherusci, which was a tribe in Germany, were fighting against the Roman Empire. and they were beating them up very heavily so that they didn't reappear here. Moreover, it's a very diverse country, and with diverse, I mean, on the one hand side, it's geographically diverse, as you can see from some of the snapshots. We have both coastal within. No, let's stick to the pictures, please. We have coastal areas with the North Sea and the Baltic Sea. We have mountainous areas with the Alps in the south, and but more importantly is probably the numerous low mountain ranges within Germany, which, for example, form the Rhine Valley, which is very famous for their vineyards. Diversity is also appearing at a cultural level. So we have two very famous poets in the Western Hemisphere. These are the gents in the lowest line, second picture to the left, which are Johann Wolfgang Goethe. Some of whom might know what a Goethe Institute is. That's an institution all over the world where you can learn about German culture from foreign countries. And his contemporary, Friedrich Schiller. The second or the third gentleman, which I would like to note, is the gent in the middle on the very left-hand side, so in grayish, because that's the founder of letterpress, Johannes Gutenberg. So actually, what he has been doing is still the basic of any kind of computer-generated texts. Yeah, and that was, I guess, done roughly 600 years ago by him. Finally, economically, Germany is also very diverse. So it is the largest economy in Europe at all. You might be aware that it is famous of the brand. That's why I understand now that we are on the Spotlight chapter here. The brand made in Germany should ring a bell to you. And it's quite notably that this brand was not introduced in order to be a positive brand of Germany, but actually to protect local markets from low quality and cheap products from Germany at these times, which was about 150 years ago. And finally, what Germany is also very famous about is what we call the Mittelstand, which is the small and medium enterprises, because a lot of innovation happens here. So in particular, in the Swabian area and Bavarian area, there are a lot of innovators which make the country very notable. In the middle of this slide, you see our very famous signature for the reunification of Germany, because you might have known as part of the Cold War after World War II. Germany was divided into two parts, and this Brandenburger Tor is pretty much a symbol of the reunification of Germany, which happened roughly 35 years ago. Now go to the next slide, please, because what the country has done with the reunification, we have more or less done on the chapter level. So up until 2020, we had 4 regional chapters in Germany, and as part of a larger merger project, or I should even call it program, 3 of these chapters decided to merge, which means on the one hand, we are pretty young. We are far away from being adult. We are literally babies. However, we have very strong roots and a long history. So, for example, did you know that one of the forming members, the Frankfurt chapter, was the second chapter founded outside of North America, and that was in 1988. That was actually, the first one was a South Africa chapter. So these 3 regional chapters have been merged, and we, of course, took a very deliberate moment in history. We started the merger at the outbreak of the corona pandemic with all its downsides and upsides. So the fact that I'm sitting here, or we are sitting here at the table, is certainly a direct consequence of the chapter merger. And that is what we have reported, for example, on the Global Summit 2022 in Las Vegas. And why is that? Well, soon after the merger, we took the opportunity to develop a completely new strategy. And what, of course, we did not do, we did not throw away things which were working nicely. So we made very conscious decisions where to innovate, where to keep the service, and then obviously also deliver more offerings to our members. Ultimately, as part of the strategy process, no, not stick one slide there. In the middle, you see our 3 spheres of activity, and one is about exchange and networking. The second one is about transfer of knowledge, but also the third one, methodological development. So just let me give you 3 small examples of our new service offerings. One is the so-called Female Empowerment Program. This is really something new, which would have never been possible without the chapter merger. And it consists of 2 elements mainly. It's a number of small peer groups as well as workshops where all the participants of the respective cohort get together. We are currently in the 2nd launch of that, in the 2nd season. And we believe that the development will go on and it will become a major success factor for the PM community in Germany. So next slide, please. That's the 2nd program I'd like to showcase. And that was also a direct consequence of the chapter merger in conjunction with the pandemic, where all of a sudden all volunteering had to go virtual. And the idea behind that is not just turning every in-person volunteering into a virtual mode, but be very mindful what that means for the volunteers. One very good example was the so-called International Cooperation Circle, which, for example, has Arshad with his very special topic on the PMI chapter exchange there as well. You might notice in the little world map, we have one needle in the midst of the Atlantic Ocean. That's actually not a flaw. That was actually a volunteer who was volunteering for the Germany chapter. And the fact is that that person worked for quite some time on an oil rig in the mid-Atlantic Ocean. So finally, in the last slide, I'd like to draw your attention to our social responsibility programs. So at the moment, we are running 7 so-called SRP, social responsibility projects, in parallel with about 20 volunteers. The history of that is that the former Southern Germany chapter was very strong in that respect. So they, in principle, brought up this whole program. And of course, as part of the chapter merger, we have now taken the challenge and want to build on these strong roots and foundations and deploy the SRP project program all across Germany. So at the moment where we are for 2022, we are already the 2nd largest contributors to the hours of impact for affordable and clean energy. But we also support other sustainable development goals. For example, a very interesting project with the Sozialdienst katholischer Frauen about mother-child houses. So that's a little overview of on the German chapter activities. So I'll now hand back to Priya, or maybe directly to Pavel, without forgetting this. Everything was obviously done by volunteers, and I really want to give you a big hand for them because it's their achievements which they can be so proud of. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Andres. And let me quickly introduce Pavel, President of Netherlands chapter, our 2nd spotlight today. So Pavel is a portfolio director at KPMG. He takes each business to top performers, maximizing revenue, transforming, developing teams, and most importantly, having fun. So before I hand over the stage to you, Pavel, can I ask you the same 2 questions? First one, what is the time there now at your site and the date? What does the logo of your chapter signify?
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for having me here. Before I will start, I would just say that this is a huge honor to be on the same call with America. So thanks, America, for sharing your story. And I also say that welcome everyone. I hear we have like 62 different countries. So this is really amazing achievement. And I think Priya, you should be proud of this because you've started this and it's really great. It's growing and it's big. I do hope that we have representation from Dutch Antilles, from Caribbean. So a huge shout out to you guys if you are there on a call. And I would say also hi to my Dutch friends. Goedemiddag allemaal in deze vergadering. En ik wens jullie prachtig weekend. Proost. So going back to the questions, the time is the same time in Germany, like in most of the countries in Europe. We do have, it's exactly 4:45 p.m. And we do also have a day breach here in the Netherlands. But as well, most of the Dutch actually took advantage and went on holiday, including myself. So I'm right now calling you guys from Luxembourg, and I hope to meet tomorrow with a couple of Luxembourgian friends from PMI. And this definitely chapter exchange helps to get new friends, new colleagues, and grow the network. About the logo. So the logo shows 3 tulips. And it represents the moment when it's part of the Dutch history where tulips were more valuable than gold. It's around 16th century when 1 tulip bulb cost around 10 times of your average annual salary. So you can imagine how valuable it was. And economical speculation says that this was actually the first economic hype when assets were more valuable and expensive than their value. So probably thanks to Dutch, we have those economic hypes all of the times. Yes, so as I said, I'm on a holiday, but I have everything prepared in case of an emergency. I have my spare battery, headphones, and everything else. So I do hope there won't be any disturbances. Of course, Netherlands is famous for many things, but I think the most famous one, apart from a city center, is the weather. It rains all the time, except 2 months in July and August when it's sunny. So if planning to visit Netherlands, do it in those 2 months. The rest, well, of course, if you're enjoying rain, then I recommend you to go in other months. So our chapter, the Dutch chapter, we are celebrating this year 22 years in October exactly. Before that time, so before 2001, Dutch chapter was part of the Benelux chapter, but during the time we had many requests from volunteers and members to think about something local. And that was the moment when 3 founders, René, Jean, and Anton, thought about this and founded the Dutch chapter in 2001. And since that time, we performing and moving forward with all our initiatives and great ideas from the volunteers and members. We do have around 900 members. We're growing. We do have currently 14 volunteers, but we're constantly looking for new volunteers. Each volunteer brings something new idea, new perspective, new way of thinking. So we are welcoming all the volunteers willing to work with us and support the PMI whenever it's possible. So we are growing, as I said, but also it means that board is also growing, the board of directors. We currently having 11 board officers, and we do structure our chapter on based on 3 pillars. So like the heart and the muscles are the volunteers. This is where everything happens. This is where magic happens. So those are the most valuable team members which do the work, and you see them always in front row showing and presenting to you great meetings and great events. And I want to say that thank you guys for doing this. Without you, we couldn't achieve what we do have right now. The second pillar is the board of directors. In this team, we have Anton. It's still one of the founding fathers. So Anton, after so many years, is still with us. So he's sharing huge passion to PMI, and I need to say that this is amazing to see how people like working and being connected to PMI. We have Christina, who's leading our events team. We have Liz, who's leading our communication and marketing team. Chris, who's leading our membership and volunteering team. Kelly, wonderful development director who has plenty of ideas. Then we have Agnes presenting our educational outreach, connecting with many students and universities. And of course, we have a Hikmet. Hikmet is our technical director. So thanks to him, we are able to connect virtually and have discussions and meeting with plenty of volunteers and members. And recently, Hikmet did a great job migrating our platform to new destination. And the last pillar is the DMT. It's the daily management team, where we have only four officers over there. It's Yolanda, it's our chapter secretary and vice president. Laura, the treasurer. Gabriela, she plays a very important role to structure the daily management team, and of course myself. So that's how we are divided, and that's how we form the chapter. And we can always look on our website and see what kind of amazing events we have, as we do have many. And of course, I think one of the biggest events what we celebrate and what we have is in December. It's the end year event. Last year we had it in Madurodam. This year I think we're gonna be all surprised by Christina, because he has so nice ideas for our members and volunteers. So I need to say also at this moment and use this opportunity to invite all the members and the volunteers to December event at the end year, because if you look on our videos and photos from last year, I need to say that this year it will be even much more fun.
Thank you, Pavel. Hopefully we will visit Netherlands, and I'm sorry to cut you short. Hopefully we will, but just to let you know, Netherlands have been our, I think the third chapter in this entire initiative, and we've got good support and good collaboration from Netherlands chapter. Thank you very much for this initiative, for this partnership. And with this, we will move on to the next section. Thank you again from joining in from Luxembourg, and hope to see you again with much more time next time. Okay, so with that, we will move on to introducing our moderator of the day. Hiral, over to you.
Greetings to everyone again. Let me introduce you to our session moderator, Devika. We are now moving towards the discussion of the day. Devika has an experience of close to 2 decades in the communication industry. She has worked with senior leadership at various reputed organizations. She has helped organizations in developing their communication strategy for external and internal audiences. Her passion for writing led her to freelance for a number of online portals and magazines, to name a few: Platform, Time Out, and Good Housekeeping. Devika is also our regional communication lead for PMI South Asia and Asia Pacific. So without any further delay, I will hand it over to you, Devika. The stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, Hiral. And it's a pleasure to hear all of you. It's a pleasure to virtually meet all of you. The way I see it, all of you are brands, all of you are project leaders, and that is that one-line description to introduce the esteemed panelists. A common description is they are brands in themselves, they are leaders in themselves. And with that, I will introduce each of the panelists here. I'll start with Bharat. He's representing Asia over here. Milan is from North America. Laura from Europe. Jeanette from ANZ. Daniel from Africa. Innocentia from South Africa, and our very own Americo. We just heard him. We got inspired by him. So I'm going to spend the next few hours with each, next few minutes, I would say. I'd love to spend hours though, with each one of you. And with that, I will start this discussion. And in the morning when I was preparing for moderating this session, I came across something which I wanted to first share with my panelists and the audience. It said that brand is a sum total of how someone perceives a particular organization, and branding is about shaping that perception. So, if we really put this in the context of a project manager, the first question that I want to throw open to my esteemed panelists is, do you need a brand? Do you need a need to brand a project or a project manager? What is that one need that first comes to your mind and you can share with the audience? I'll start with Bharat, and then I will go around the entire panel.
Am I audible, Devika?
Yes.
So yes, brand is definitely very important for project, especially if not project manager. Why? Because nowadays, whenever we see projects, they are more or less like aligning to a technology or aligning to something which is disrupted the business processes, right? And it definitely associates with the change in organization, right? And organization change is very, very important. And the moment we brand any project, it provides a importance, it provides a message specific to that audience that will be impacted by it, right? So I would say yes, brand is definitely important. That's for the project. For the project management, of course, brand is also important, as Americo has mentioned, that it helps to ensure that you get that right attention, you get that right support from your stakeholders, right? And stakeholders also get that good vibe, right? So that's what I will say, that yes, brand is definitely important. Back to you.
Nice to know that from you, Bharat. I think that's a great perspective to share on why you really think project manager or a project as a brand is important. I'll move to Daniel. Daniel, you come from a very different region, and I think all the panelists here represent a cultural diversity. You represent uh, a particular ethos, and in your part of the world, uh, why do you feel you know brand and project manager and project need to be aligned, need to be there together? So the same question that I shared with Bharat.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to everyone who is on the program, on the session. Glad to be here. I think the brand is very necessary in our time today. When you say a brand, it's the promise you tell your audience, your clients, your future prospects, that this is what I'm going to deliver, this is the value I'm bringing to the table, and you hold yourself accountable, and your clients, your audience, your sponsors hold you accountable to the brand you present of yourself. So in other words, you are telling everybody that this is who I am and this is how I want to be perceived. And you have to intentionally direct that outview or outlook about yourself. So it's very necessary in this world where a lot of attention can be misinterpreted. You need to be direct about who you are and what you represent. So I think the brand, the project, and the manager have to all be aligned together. Thank you.
That's wonderful. My takeaways: who you are, what you represent, and so succinctly put, so easy to understand. A reflection of your personality, an extension of your personality. I think those are some of the things, Daniel, you're really letting the audience also know. I'll move to Laura. What is your view on this? Do you agree with what Bharat said? Do you agree with what Daniel said? Do you think there is an extension that you'd like to offer when you think of brand and project manager?
I think more or less they mention different topics that are all related. I think it's important that because for me, for example, it started with a personal story. So the branding awareness started in 2011 when the first time I lost my job, and then for me it was like a crisis for me, and I needed to look or to gain more self-confidence to be able to reinvent me. So at the end, the result was creating my company at that time. I think it's important for the companies to have leaders that represent them, that represent their values, and at the end, this is inflicted or let's say cascaded down to the customers or to the stakeholders, with whom you create trust and you create the relations that are long lasting. That's what Americo commented. And I think in that sense is important. At the end, you start in a personal development that it becomes entangled with your professional development, and at the end is to connect different dots or different dimensions that are or become more relevant, also depending on the time of your life, no? And I think right now I would define the brand as call it public identity, your purpose, your distinguishing point, or what also was commented here, your reputation, and how you build that is also the important part, and it differs also depending on the company, but there are different lawyers that are the same for all, no? So I would say that.
Laura, you've given me so many words. I probably have to make a note of it. Relevance, confidence, extension of yourself. These are pearls of wisdom for everyone who's listening to it. And with that, Jeanette, in your part of Asia, I would say, down under, how do you think project managers perceive themselves as brand? Do they need to? Your views there.
Yeah, hi everyone from Melbourne down under. It's Saturday here, so a day ahead of you all. Absolutely. I believe brand is about what people say about you when you're not in the room. And so for a project, it's a temporary brand. And so when the project closes, what legacy are they leaving behind in the organization? So what are people going to be saying about that project, not today, but in years and months to come? So for a project, I feel it's about the legacy. For a project manager, absolutely. So what are people saying about you when you're not in the room? How are you making them feel? How are you allowing them to contribute? And are they recommending you for challenges, your next opportunity? So for project managers, brand's all about how you make people feel, is probably my summary.
I love what you said. You said legacy. You said what people say about you when you're not in the room. Not many people really think about those things. And I think it's something people should ponder about. What people say on your face, what they remember about you, that's what you truly are as a brand. Milan, I'll move to you. And do we need to brand a project or a project manager? What are your views on this?
Definitely. So can you hear me well?
Yes.
Great. Definitely, I think the branding the project manager or the project, it will definitely have the impact to the results of the project itself. So based on some articles and researches, there are kind of 4 factors that can influence the success of the project, and definitely branding is one of them. So strategic importance, an example of the project, how is that aligned with the strategic initiatives and understanding from the top management or the sponsors of the project, definitely will have a strong influence. Viability of the project. If the project has high success of the high rate of the success, or definitely is seen as something that can be definitely lead till the end, or it's from the very start assumed as safe failure, will definitely impact. Then reputation of the project manager as a third factor, from his perspective, the lead, his relationship with the peers, with the team members, with the stakeholders, and understanding of the project, his passion about the project and expertise that he is bringing to, as well as, I would say, maybe the 4th factor that will definitely affect the project success from the perspective of the branding is who is the client of the project.
I think that's very real. New things that I heard: expertise, passion, client. These are some of the things that are very core to whatever we do, especially in project management, where project managers are experts at technical skills. Soft skills is something that they are acquiring because there is a need for that. And it's always the client first, the customer first. So, customer centricity, as we call it, uh, is at the core of what everybody does. I'll move to Innocentia and get your views on do we need to have a brand? Do we need to brand a project manager?
So, Devika, good you asked that question to Innocentia, but she is not our panelist. She is one of our team members, but she can always answer that question. Americo is our panelist.
Yes, I would have moved to America after this.
I can certainly answer. It's definitely important, and I think we often focus a lot on external branding, meaning the person that we portray to the public versus the person that we portray to our clients. So it's quite important that there's different levels and different elements of branding, and it's not just one perspective or one view to it. And we need to consider all the different aspects. What do our clients perceive of us? What do our employers or employees perceive of us? What do people in the broader industry perceive of us? So all those different levels are certainly important.
Thank you so much. And saving our guest speaker for the last. As they say, save the best for last. Americo, I picked up some words from you when you said reputation. You said trust. Those words were stuck in my head. So would love to know more from you on that.
Yes, so let me just share some last thoughts. There is something important on building trust, and it's not now based only in my experience, but actually it's based on my work, right? I see that. Remember, I said that people is the focus, right? And the point is, when you are building trust, you should understand what is your objective and the audience that you are dealing with. Because again, it's not about what you want that people think about you. It's about how they will perceive your behavior, the way that you act, the results of you deliver that you deliver, and everything that is behind all your actions and your behavior as a professional. So it means that there's not a formula, right? Something that you can just apply and it will work for everyone with everyone. So in fact, we should understand very well what we want to build in terms of brand, because we are different, right? What is important for me as a person, as a professional, in terms of my whole brand, is not necessarily what you want for you, right? So I remember when I stopped to work as a consultant, to dedicate my time to PMO Global Alliance, it was a big change in my life, because it was when I said, okay, maybe people can see me as someone relevant in the PMO field, but actually what I want is something different. I prefer to voice the community, because I really believe that the stars in terms of knowledge is the experience of people from our community. Of course, I have my opinions, I have my points of view, but statistically speaking, they are just one point of view, one perspective. So if I can make people understand that my ability is to give voice to many great people that would share their knowledge, share their experience with everyone around the world, it would be something valuable. And I try to build my reputation in the last 6-7 years on this idea, So in a certain way, it brought me other benefits in terms of brand and reputation that I couldn't imagine. But anyway, it was something very clear to me what I want to get at the end of this journey, right? So that's what I
That's
really
really
need
amazing
to
because
know.
when you share your personal story, um, that instantly connects with anyone, with everyone, because what we hear other people say versus what someone has gone through and how the person has built himself up, that's really where the true learning lies. And that really takes me to a question that we've got from the audience, because they're very eager to know: is there a way or suggestion on how to measure brand reputation in project management? We're living in the age of reputation management. We all hear metrics and measurement and numbers through the day. So, Bharat, I'll toss this over to you first. Is there a way to measure the brand reputation in project management? Is there a matrix? Is there anything that can be used to measure that or gauge that?
No, not that I am aware of. Sorry, I have to pass on.
No worries. I think that's also a call out for all of us to know that that's an area to be worked on in the industry. I'll move to Milan. What do you think? Is there a way to measure this?
There is a way. So every brand, there is a project or any other activity can be measured from qualitative or quantitative perspective. So it can employ different kind of surveys with the participants or the stakeholders. They are impacted by the project or they are influenced by the project. Also, project success metrics can be some measure of the brand and how that success of the project impact and create a brand and understanding of it. Then I think maybe the influence of the organization and maybe team engagement and satisfaction. So will definitely give some impact on it.
Those interesting nuggets. Daniel, I see your hand up there.
So what my business has used in the past is a software called brand24.com. Okay, and what it does is that it looks for keywords on social media about what people are saying about your brand. And you can use this to determine what is the... yes, you can use this to determine whether they are speaking positively or negatively about your brand, and it gives you all the analytics. So we can try that software, brand24.com.
Those are useful nuggets. I can see a lot of thumbs up coming there, and that makes me go to the next hand that I see on my screen, Jeanette.
Yeah, great question. I think measurement for a project, a couple of little things to be, you don't even need to measure it, but be aware. When people don't turn up to your meetings, that's a clear indication that your project doesn't have a reliable brand.
Yeah.
That's just a simple one.
Yeah.
It's basic, but if you've got people that you want committed to participate on there, but for a person, do you have a pipeline for your next opportunities? So I think a reflection of your own personal measurement as a project leader, are you getting the early recommendations? Are you getting the phone calls to say, there's a project coming up in 3 months, we'd really like to consider you, will you be available? So I think we actually have a personal pipeline as a project leader as well, because we should always be, through our reputation, our role modelling, be recognised as the next best person to have to solve this challenge. So they're the two that I would just suggest to start with.
Those are very interesting. Very simply put, do people show up? And that holds true for everything. Laura, do you have a view on this? Sometimes, quantitative scientific numbers are not always there, but that really doesn't mean you can't measure impact. You can't measure reputation in project management? What are your views there?
Yeah, more or less what my panelist colleagues said. In my company, for example, we measure this impact also with surveys with the stakeholders, if they are happy or not, but also internally, how our project managers work together. We are developing different or renewing different ways of working that also all the pandemic and the technology change it. So we are working on that. And I think also we are developing kind of a new role leader, putting more effort in the emotional skills. So the project manager's human side is more, so the technical part you can learn it in the books, but the human side you need to develop it. And I think my company is working a little bit on that to make sure that it has an impact to our customers.
That's interesting. Americo, I have a separate related and unrelated question for you, because it's related to the question I asked with the audience, but it's an extension of the same. So I'll start this one with you. So the audience wants to know, how can we measure our actions on that direction of building ourselves as a brand? Are there any common facts we can pay attention to understanding if we're in the right direction? So if, let's say, I am wanting to build myself as a brand, how do I know I'm on the right track? Are there any common facts that I should consider? I've tried to simplify the question that the audience has asked. You're on mute.
I'm happy to start if
I think it's okay now. So I mentioned that taking risks is important. So you should try to do more than is expected from you. I usually say that possibly we could create a mathematical indicator for that, because usually when you are building your brand, it means that your initially you have stages, and the next stage, until the next stage of reputation, it likes your work, the hours of work will increase very fast, but not your salary, the money that you are making, because people see that you are doing a good job and they will give you more and more because they believe on you. And, so you'll see that your work will increase significantly until the next point, the next stage, where possibly you will find a new opportunity, a new job, or your salary will be improved. So that's an interesting indicator. But it's about proactivity. Try something different and get more than what is expected from you.
Great. Jeanette, I know you wanted to chime in here. Love to hear your views on this. No problem.
You just touched a really passionate topic for me.
I'm glad I did.
Yeah. It's self-awareness. That's the first stepping stone in anything around personal brand. And the self-awareness is around a couple of things. I think some people have already mentioned this tonight, is what are your values? Because what's important to me is not going to be important with the next project manager. So values were things about who do you want to work with? What sort of organization do you want to work with? What sort of team do you want to create when you have got the opportunity to lead a project team? What are your non-negotiables as behaviors? Because we've talked about tonight trust, and trust comes from consistency of behaviors and actions. So if we're not self-aware of what our values are and who and how we want to work, trust can't really be built because we're not consistent in our behaviors and actions. So that's just something I'd suggest we start with, is self-awareness. And it's a tough one, but you can start there.
You're beautifully building layers on trust. Americo started with trust. You got consistency in and self-awareness. So it's rounding out to be something really nice, which I'm sure is a key takeaway. I'll move to the next question, because this is again a very interesting one. And Bharat, I wanted to start with you for this. One of the people in the audience is saying that I understand that the strengthening of our brand depends on how we relate, mainly with people, but also how we deal with our partners, our teams, our clients, supported by processes, tools, and techniques. So, what are the paths we should pursue to be high performance managers or differentiated leaders? So, I think the person is aware of certain things one has to do, but wants to know from you what are the paths one should pursue to be a high performance manager or a differentiated leader, because you need to be one to be a brand.
So first of all, I think we as a project manager should be always relevant, right? Should be always aware of what is going on in the industry. Like this world, like it's ever changing, right? And especially in last few years, we had seen technologies being disruptive. Pandemic has brought up a lot of disruptions around us. So what is more important for us is to be relevant. Now, to be relevant to the organization, to be relevant to the industry, to be relevant from the technology perspective, uh, like we discuss about self-aware and those all aspects. On top of it, probably if I can add one more layer, is to be like self-motivated to go to that extra step, right? Wherein we can always be ready to jump into the next new project that our organization is bringing in, right? So that's where I will leave that.
I love the way how everybody is really building this picture. We have another. I can literally see your pyramid now, and self motivation added there. Milan, I wanted your views as well. On this question, where the audience wants to know what are the paths we should pursue to be high performance managers or differentiated leaders.
Let me relate the previous question first, and then I will come to this one. So, which was really nice answered by Americo and Jeanette. So I think all that leads to the thing that we are usually using here to volunteer into the PMI, which is paying forward. You cannot expect that brands give you immediate result. You need to invest first. So don't expect result come immediately after you spend 1 hour, 2 hours, or did some action. So that will come, and that's not your first thing that you should think about. This is something that will come later.
That's a very interesting perspective. Laura, I wanted to now turn over to you because there's another one that's come in, and this audience is extremely curious. I love that they're asking brilliant questions. The next one is building a brand or reputation also about having the right network? Laura, what are your views on this?
I think it's how you create this network, because having a network, it doesn't mean it's going to work. I think it's how you take care of this network, how you maintain this network, and the added value you provide to them and they provide to you. And at the end, it's something that it comes. It's nothing that comes quick, but it helps, I think, the leader, the volunteer, or you to develop the professionally and personally, because I don't like to distinguish between both, because at the end, when you develop personally, your trust, your self-awareness, you know yourself better, then it cascades down to your professional life. So for me, this is very important, and networking really helped me in volunteering or professionally. And I think it's very important to keep, for me, it's not just make the contact. What I realized is that it's more important to maintain this contact, to nurture it, and to really also listen to your contacts, to know about them, what they do, to understand what are their needs, etc. So for me, it has been my lesson learned.
That's lovely. I mean, I love the way you message saying that how you build the network also matters, and the power of listening that you slightly alluded to. I think it's a lifelong learning. Daniel, good to have your views as well on having the right network. Is building a brand or reputation is also about having the right network?
Yes, definitely. Building a brand, you need to have the right network. The people you associate with will also reflect on the kind of brand that you have. Some people will be good for your brand, some people will be bad for your brand. And the more you associate with these people, it's a law of averages. You become more like the people you associate with. So when you begin to build your brand, you want to identify the kind of people you want around yourself. You want to look for mentors, you want to look for coaches, you want to see what these people do, how they do it, and begin to move in that direction. So definitely you would have to leave some people behind. They would either be weights on you or draw you back or give you a negative brand reputation. So yes, your network is very important and you should be deliberate about who you want to be in your network.
Great. I love the way naturally, and this is not doctored, how one question is really leading to another one. Because another person, Jeanette, I'll probably start with you over here because it's again an extension of the previous question. He or she is saying, as a volunteer of PMI or as a project management coach, how can one project oneself in the networking sphere?
Yeah, great question. Bouncing around, love that, Daniel. Someone said to me, I'll just reflect quickly. Someone said to me once, and it's stuck with me. If you want to be an Olympian, you hang out with Olympians. If you want to be a bum, go to the pub. And that's always stuck in my head. So thank you for reflecting that who you hang around with is part of building and maintaining your brand. So the question around was about building volunteering. And I think that linked back to Daniel about paying it forward. One of the things that I would encourage people to do in volunteering is to know that you already know more than the people that you are working with. Be the confidence in your skill set. So when you are volunteering, the brand, once again, it's that consistency. So don't try to be everything to everyone. Know who you are, know who you represent, and volunteer in that expertise. Don't try to fill a gap just because there is a void, because you're actually damaging your brand by trying to be other things than actually who you really are.
I think those again are things that are going to be stuck in my head. Be who you are. Don't try and be everything to everyone. And America, your views on how can one project oneself in the networking space? Because we all know that brand is also about perception, how you want others to perceive you. So how can one project oneself in the networking space? You're on mute, I think. Yes, you're on mute.
I will keep it
Yes, we
keep
can
it
hear you now.
unmuted. Yeah. So I was saying that I really believe that one of the best ways to build this network is helping people, in many different ways. So actually, when you are open to support people, to share with them, to teach them about something, to exchange ideas, in a certain way, when you give first, you have something back in the future, and usually it comes as this strong network. So it helps to build trust too. Being open to support and help people, not only when they come to you, but also just offering them opportunities for them to meet, their all goals and motivations. So when you make people feel good, feel nice. So actually they say, wow, okay, so this person is someone that I want to be close to him or her. So that's how I think I built my network and all these years, trying to provide, opportunities for everyone. So I really believe on that. It's not a matter of, okay, I'm giving you, so I'm expecting something back. That's not exactly the idea. If it's like this, possibly it will not work. But if it's something just that you are doing because you believe that this is the way, I think it can help.
That's amazing. Milan, any views from you on how to project oneself, or anything about networking that you want to share? Because we've had these two very related questions that have come.
Just repeat one more thing what
Sure,
Americo
sure.
said in the beginning of our conversation is how he started, and how he presented himself and built a brand from himself, and later the company and the brand around PMO Global Awards is by submitting the applications and going to the events. So if you're present there and you're submitting it, of course, there is some result behind you, it will be much easier for you to present yourself, your work, and people will relate with you. So definitely later you can use the other way of communication and connection to continue that relationship with the others.
That's wonderful. I'm very intrigued to know, because there's this one word which I hear in all my professional conversations, and that is culture. And I didn't hear that word at all. I heard many variations of it. So there is a question on how does a leader's brand improve the team's culture? Because every organization, every project is a lot about culture. As a project manager, you represent a certain culture, you represent a certain work ethos as well. Bharat, I'll probably start with you. How does a leader's brand improve the team's culture?
So see, essentially, leader is a face of team, right? And leader's body language is what generally reflects in the behavior of the team. Say, for example, if I'm walking into my house and if I start shouting, right, then definitely the environment of my house will become tense, right? So similarly in the team also, if I take that similar part over here in the team working, when I am working with the team, if I give them that psychological um, confidence that yes, you can work here, you can talk, you can express yourself, you can be creative, right? Those are the things which will definitely help team to bring best out of themselves, right? And that is where a leader who is really somebody who is coming out like that, that yes, he is the person with whom I would like to work, right? And that's where the right team members will stick with you, and that is where the team will perform best for you. And so definitely leaders brand will help in improving that kind of a culture of inclusiveness, of openness, of creativity, and eventually it will help in deliver the successful projects.
That's great. I mean, that was a question that came to my mind, because I hear that question a lot, but I will prioritize what the audience is asking and not what I want to know. So here's something that has come from the audience, and Laura, I'd like to start with you. How significant is the role of social media in building a brand for the organization? Because everybody's just out there in the social space. So, what are your views on how significant is the role of social media in building a brand for the organization?
Social media for me is just a tool. How you use it is how really it will make an impact or not. And you can, I think somebody commented at the beginning, it takes a long time to create a reputation. It takes just a few minutes to destroy it. So for me, social media is just a tool. You have different tools for different purposes, and how you use it, you will see the let's say the result of it. Yeah?
Awesome. How you use it is what matters. Danielle, your views on social media and the role of it in building the brand of the organization or the project manager?
I think yes, like Laura said, it's a tool, a two-edged sword. The way you use it, it's going to work for you or it's going to break you. In the world we are moving into, the project manager needs to be deliberate about the personality or the values he puts out there. And I foresee a time when artificial intelligence is selecting which project manager does the best job. Okay. And it will take its data from your profile, your digital profile on the internet. It will look at the jobs you've done, the content you put out on social media, the information, your photos, what kind of people you associate with, and it will distill and filter and bring out a result. So for us project managers now, you need to have that digital presence, and it should be a positive one, because that is what is going to determine what artificial intelligence tool is going to select you or take you out of any selection that's needed for a project. So yes, we should be deliberate and use the tool positively to project our personal brand.
Absolutely. In the world of AI, how can we not mention it in a discussion like this? I'll move to the last question, and it's a very interesting one again. Jeanette, I'll toss this to you. Is the brand you create and start with the same as the one you grow the business with, or can the brand change along the way? Deep question, I think.
A good question. Personally, for me, yeah, I do run my own practice, and the brand that I started in 2017 is definitely not what I have today. Because part of my growth was really understanding and how I want to serve others. Coming out of being an employee, I thought it was all about what I was used to in big corporate organisations with a couple of thousand staff. But working now where I can work more intimately with clients, my brand is very much who you see JC now is actually who you see every day. There is no behind the corporate doors or when you see me at the shopping centre. I'm actually the same person. So as I've grown my practice or my business as being a project advisor and coach, I have evolved it, but now I'm very much aligned with my values, what sort of work I want to help people with, how I want them talking about JC when I'm not in the room, and it's definitely involved, but showing up consistently probably is the trigger for understanding where your growth is. What I used to do at the beginning is definitely not what I do now, but I think people will know JC if they've seen me anywhere. I'm just who I am. There's no different.
I think that's what growth and evolution is all about. How you consistently change and thereby grow. And I have another one from the audience. Milan, I would probably like to start with you on this. How can we leverage AI to build one's brand? I mean, there's so much of AI and deep learning and chat GPT in our lives now. So maybe, you can't have a discussion without these things today. So how can we leverage AI to build one's brand?
Definitely, AI is taking over pretty much everything and impacting all jobs. And I think definitely embracing the AI can help everyone. So this is something that we should not be afraid of. And we should use that one, as Laura mentioned, as we are using social media as a tool that can help us. So that's additional tool, but maybe Americo Pinto can use that one for easily find the best project manager or the best PMO, collecting the data from the, as Daniel mentioned, from the social media, from various sources, and can help you in defining the best one. The AI is based on the data. So ChatGPT and all other similar tools that we are using are trained on the data and data set that exists somewhere. So there is, of course, a small percentage of the hallucination that we are reading right now that is not AI or ChatGPT is not able to give us the right exact answers. But utilizing AI in organizational decision making, building a brand, creating the content is definitely something that will help us and will impact everyone.
Thank you. I'll go to Bharat because I remember asking a culture related question. And that's, I think, triggered a question from the audience. And one person in the audience would like to know, in culture context, what is the impact of brand on succession plan in organizations for a project manager? Would you want me to repeat that once again?
No. I'm just trying to. It's a very good question. So I'm just trying to understand the context behind asking this question, right? See, I think for the project management, one thing we need to be very clear is that the brand of a project manager is about the capability. It's about the character. It's about the commitment, right? So this three thing is the core of a project manager, because that's what they are they are going to deliver, right? That commitment is the most important part. So I think the moment one project manager shows his brand and puts out a performance, right? He sets up a bar, right? And when he sets up that bar, that definitely that bar is the one which next person who is coming in, he has to beat that. That's a first thing, foremost thing. At least, like, he has to meet that bar or he has to beat it. That's the first thing. Second thing is that, as I mentioned earlier, growing in your own domain, growing in your area, knowing what is going on, staying in relevance is also very important, right? So both the aspects, if we club together, a project manager's brand, as well as what is going on, these are the one what is going to set up a tone of the succession, right? If I'm the one who is now, like, having a white hair and who is leaving, or for any reason, if I'm moving out of the organization, the person who is going to fill next, he has to at least, like, have those people who are working with me have a same experience, or like, better experience than me. Then only that person will be able to establish himself or herself, right? So that's where I will leave that thoughts.
Thank you so much. Daniel, there is a specific question for you because the person has written your name against the question. No pressure. I'll just ask the question straight up. Should one really be ubiquitous on digital platforms, or selective or deliberate? What's your take on this?
I think that we should be, the question rather is, where is your audience located? So if you have a higher audience on Facebook, then much of your drive or your energy or your posting should be directed to Facebook or LinkedIn or any other platform that your audience is living in, the space your audience is living in. However, we are seeing that they are all connected one way or the other. So at least you should have a touch point on as many platforms as you feel are connected with your brand. So right now, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, they are all under one brand. So you can't be in one space and think that you're not in the other. But you want to have a direct, deliberate touch point with your audience and say that this is where my audience lives. This is how I want to reach out to them. And I think that it's all about, again, the content you put out there. Okay, the content will either draw people to you or take people away from you, and naturally you see the flow. Your content will begin to bring a certain kind of people, and then you see that those people are more of either they're on Facebook or they're on TikTok or they are here, and then you can migrate towards that. So you start with the mind that, okay, who is my audience? How do I get to them? But you also be open to the fact that your audience will become attracted to you and they may be coming from other sources.
I think that's very, very helpful. I'll move to my absolute last question. And I promise I will not ask any other question after this. Americo, I will move to you with this one because I think it's dovetailed from the discussion that we've had around social media. And there's a person who wants to know or says, isn't the skill set of the project manager the foundation of his or her brand? Means, how can social media help if the project manager doesn't have the skill to do the job to deliver projects? What the person is trying to say is your project skills or the skill set of a project manager is the foundation. If you don't have that, how can social media help? You're on mute.
Yeah, come on. So, sorry. Actually, I agree that the foundation is fully needed. So if you don't have anything to show, actually, it becomes a little difficult, right? There is nothing that you can really share. But it doesn't mean that you cannot use social media in many different ways, because you can start not only giving, but sometimes asking, right? For example, I received people sending me messages, asking questions. So they ask some kind of support. And sorry, it's another meeting, 15 minutes. So actually, they keep in touch with me, and of course, they establish a new link, so a new connection, right? So even if you are unexperienced, you can try it. But there is just one thing that I would like to say about social media. For me, social media is not a tool, not really. The platform is a tool, of course, but social media is a strategy when you are building your reputation, when you are building your brand. Absolutely. And I can tell you that because PMOJ started from the scratch 6 years ago, absolutely nothing, zero. Today we have almost 25,000 members, and everything was built on LinkedIn. Everything with a premium account. We've never spent 1 cent in advertising. So the point is, when there is a strategy, of course, if it's a personal brand, you have to create this strategy in a different way. But it's like an onion, you have your inner circle, and this inner circle will start to give you visibility, and your reputation will start to be built in the next layer of this onion, so it takes a little time, but it works really well. So if you have a chance to learn about that, and there are some specific books, it's not about project management, but there are books, there are some material that if you study them, you will see how it can be important. It's not project management, but it's totally related to building a brand, building a reputation.
Thank you. I think that's really, really useful. Lots of takeaways, lots of pearls of wisdom. I know, Innocentia, I was too excited to get you in. I was only trying to help you so that you can catch all the pearls of wisdom that are being shared. So now I officially hand it over to you to share your takeaways and wrap up the session for all of us. But before you do that, thank you so much.
What an
all the
what an
panelists.
explosive session. I hope you can hear me and you can see me. Just testing or checking that you can hear me.
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. And you can see my screen.
Yes, whoa, what is that?
Amazing. So this has been such an incredible session, and it was so much to keep track of, but incredible insights that's been shared. I did a bit of a mind map. We are people of processes and structure, so I thought this would be a great picture to sort of get a snapshot of what we've discussed. To reiterate, the theme of our session today is building your brand as a project manager. How can we present ourselves to the world, to our clients, to our teams, in a way that benefits all our stakeholders? So it's quite insightful on how we've gone about, or we've received insight from our panel. In terms of our attendance today, it was quite incredible to hear that there's over 20 PMI chapters that are involved in this incredible movement. We had over 1,200 registrations for the session today, to show that everybody's interested and excited about this topic, and over 64 countries are represented in our sessions today, which is quite phenomenal. We also took a moment to celebrate our colleagues, Ayanda and Shane. Congratulations again for representing and flying high the chapter flags. We're incredibly proud of you, and do keep also with your efforts with your respective chapters. And of course, Priscilla, and you've been recognized as a speaker talking about the chapter exchange event. It was quite great to hear from our keynote speaker, Americo amazing feedback, and it was quite interesting. You shared something at the start, and there was a thread that ran through to our panel discussion. You spoke about how reputation is the cornerstone of brand building. How do you build trust? How do you take risks? How do you build relationships with those around you? And all of this can lead to more repetitive work, meaning your brand building is actually working. So it was great to hear the words trust, risk-taking, reputation also filter through to our panel. You've also mentioned that it was important to understand your why. Why are we doing this? Why is it important? Because if we don't understand our why, then we're aimlessly pursuing our brand without knowing what our targets are. It's important to also keep learning and be open to learning. This also came from our panel discussions where we were talking about leveraging new things like social media and AI to build our brand. But what's also important is using PMI as our launch pad. And I'm sure many of us that are involved in our chapters have seen that PMI has opened many doors for us from a brand building perspective. And you talked about, our keynote speaker talked about transparency and also being motivated and understanding people's motivations as they interact with you. It was also great to hear from our chapters, Spotlight, Dr. Andreas from a Germany chapter, Netherlands. There's incredible work that's being done there, and many of us can learn from those initiatives that you're doing in your respective chapters. Then the panel discussion, a lot of interaction, a lot of information, and I've really summarized it into 4 key points. Is the question, do you need to have a brand as a project manager? The answer was yes, and the different tools and techniques and the reasoning behind that was shared. How do you measure your brand and reputation? How do you become a distinguished leader? The importance of networking. What about culture? I love that question about culture because we're all from diverse environments and diverse teams, so it's important to understand where team culture fits in. The role of social media. Some of us are LinkedIn people, and many of us have probably built our brands from LinkedIn, and inevitably that's resulted in us being more prominent with our clients and within our organizations. And the note about change, somebody was asking about, if you've established a certain brand, is it possible to change? And one of our panelists said they started one side and ended another way, and it's okay. Change is inevitable, and we adapt and we evolve with depending on the situation. And one of our panelists, Daniel, talked about AI and some of the opportunities we can actually leverage with using AI. So AI is not an enemy. We can certainly benefit it from a brand building perspective. And I love how our panel discussion closed. It's emphasis on skills, project management skills, and your skills are the foundation. And as much as you can go to the world and present your brand, talk about the value that you can deliver, at the end of the day, how are you consistently delivering that value? So I've said that it's important, or I've summarized this as saying, make sure that you take care of the basics. Your brand, what you do on a daily basis is the foundation of what you tell the world that you can do or you can achieve out there. And just the last comment from our panel discussion was that social media is a strategy. It's not the way you build a brand. It's one of the strategies that you can leverage to augment how you present your brand. So that's a snapshot of some of the key takeaways from the sessions today. And over to you, Priya.
Ooh, that was awesome. Cynthia, you just rocked, okay? And I couldn't even think of, summarizing the event in such a wonderful manner. With this, I hand over to Anita to, kind of wrap it up for this month, and I will share my screen. Just a moment. Yeah.
Thank you, Priya. So first of all, big thank you to our panelists, Bharat, Milan, Janet, Daniel, and Laura. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation and spending this time with us. And Devika, thank you so much for being a fabulous moderator of the session. And our participants also, thank you so much for spending this time with us. I believe that you got a really nice takeaways for you to build your brand as a project manager. Please also take some time and provide us with the feedback either by scanning the QR code or through the link that was shared in the chat. And please also share the topics you would like to hear during such sessions like today's. Thank you so much, Sunil, Amod, for your help as WebEx admin in making this event smooth as ever. Damike, thank you so much for the flyers and social media posts. Priscilla, thank you so much for event analysis, which helped us a lot to put this awesome event in terms of registration and experience. And thank you again, our attendees, panelists, and our team, of course, under the supervision of Priya, for working around the clock to make this event yet another success. PDU code for PMI certification holders is displayed on the screen, and email will be sent out with the details as well how to claim the PDUs. So over to you, Priya.
Okay, thank you, Vanita, and I hope that was a participation for today's event. 124 folks took the poll, but I'm sure there were lots of other people who did not take. So thank you very much for joining this event yet again. Thank you for giving us your time. And next month we will be back again. This time we will discuss diversity in project management. Diversity in terms of gender, culture, generations, and how it can impact the outcomes of our projects. So watch our social media handles for more. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy, and see you soon. Bye-bye.